The other thing that we keep hearing from Democrats and some in the media is that this is going to be a forever war. Here is Vice President J.D. Vance shutting that right down on Fox News.
And there's just no way, I said this before the conflict started, I'll repeat it again, there's just no way that Donald Trump is going to allow this country to get into a multi-year conflict with no clear end in sight and no clear objective. What is different about President Trump, and it's frankly different about both Republicans and Democrats of the past, is that he's not going to let his country go to war unless there's a clearly defined objective. He's defined that objective as Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon and has to commit long term to never trying to rebuild their nuclear capability. It's pretty clear, it's pretty simple, and I think that means that we're not going to get into the problems that we've had with Iraq and Afghanistan.
Ariella, what's your assessment of Vance's position there?
I also listened in on that. And what we're also seeing is how quickly foreign policy seems to become domestic political debate. For example, what we just saw here, some Democrats are raising constitutional concerns and questioning executive authority, while J.D. Vance, as we just saw here, and the administration voices are emphasizing limited objectives and strategic containment. In fact, as our Vice President Vance just has stated clearly, that President Trump will not allow this to become another Iraq or Afghanistan-style war. He's emphasized that there will be no multi-year conflict with no clear end in sight. The objective, as defined by the administration, is straightforward, and Iran cannot have nuclear weapons, period. They also must not be able to commit long-term never to rebuild that capability. That tension is real, and its oversight matters. But beneath that political messaging is larger strategic questions, like how America defines deterrence in partnerships with its closest ally in the region. The debate isn't simply partisan. It's about whether long-term security strategy drives decisions or whether short-term political positioning does. Foreign policy requires predictability, clarity, and credibility. And that's what allies look for. And that's what adversaries calculate. So when we look at this picture, these objectives are clear.
Absolutely, they are. Right now, we're 4 days into this operation. We're seeing Iran retaliating, launching a wave of strikes across the region. We know a drone has struck the American consulate in Dubai, and there are reports that strikes have targeted Tel Aviv. I know that you're in the United States right now, but what can you tell us about the situation there?
Absolutely. First thing, I actually just returned from Israel last week, and it was a waiting game for all of us of when is the war or some conflict going to be starting. So to say that we didn't know it was coming, we all knew it was. And the first thing we have to understand, though, is the historical context. This didn't just start on Saturday morning when we woke up in America. It began with the regime's rise in 1979. What we're seeing now is the latest chapter in a decades-long ideological conflict. The current Iranian regime has embedded hostility towards both Israel and the United States, and its governing ideology for more than 4 decades. So while many of us woke up to these headlines over the weekend, the strategic tension has been building for years through proxy warfare, missile development, and regional destabilization. We also have to acknowledge something serious here. In any military confrontation, there are going to be casualties, which we have had already on both sides. That reality is tragic, and it underscores just how high the stakes are at this moment. And at the same time, what we're seeing is the strength of the U.S.-Israel alliance in action. Not symbolic alignment, but operational coordination rooted in shared security, interests, and deterrence.
Ariella Novak, broadcast journalist, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.